Elizabeth, when we're together for the holidays, we end up going to Whole Foods Market every day. There's so many things that we need. Like we're going to a party and one of us needs to bring a gift for the host. They have these expert curated cheeses and crackers that everybody loves. They have excellent limited time seasonal desserts like holiday rum cake, creamy bûche de Noël, which is one of our family's favorites, and more. Plus, they have these show-stopping things for the table like bone-in spiral cut ham.
Well, Gretch, I love that they have heat and eat sides from the prepared foods department because you know that I am not much of a cook. So heat and serve is something I can do. And they have floral, Gretchen. So you can bring a nice bouquet of flowers if you're going to someone's house. Shop for everything you need at Whole Foods Market, your holiday headquarters. The holidays are such a joyful time, but let's be honest, they can also be a lot. There's so much to cook, so much to clean, and unfortunately, so much food waste.
You know, we're always thinking about the small things we can do that make an impact, not just for our own happiness, but for the planet too. And that's why I'm such a big fan of my Mill food recycler. Mill is odorless and fully automated, eliminating all the pain points associated with old-fashioned compost pails and smelly garbage cans. It makes keeping food out of the trash as easy as dropping it in. It can be hectic in my home around the holidays, but Mill keeps me keeping my cool when I'm hosting. With all the food prep and guests arriving, I never have to stress about the trash. Plus, it looks super cool and modern in my kitchen.
Add Mill to your wish list or gift one now. Get up to $200 off during their biggest sale of the season, Thursday, November 20th through Monday, December 1st. Miss the sale? You can still get $75 off with code HAPPY. Visit mill.com/happy. That's mill.com/HAPPY.
Lemonada.
I'm Gretchen Rubin, and this is A Little Happier. Something I think about constantly is expectations. I think about the outer expectations that others impose on us, like work deadlines, and the inner expectations we impose on ourselves, like wanting to keep a New Year's resolution. I think about these kinds of expectations because they stand at the core of my 4 tendencies personality framework that divides people into upholders, questioners, obligers, and rebels. If you want to learn more about this framework and discover your tendency, take my free quiz at GretchenRubin.com. More than 3.5 million people have taken that quiz. But expectations are important in another sense. In our lives, we have expectations about how things will go, what we'll experience, how we'll behave, and how other people will behave. And the responses that we feel to situations, whether we feel pleased, angry, resentful, worried, relieved, or whatever, is often a reflection of those expectations. If we expect something better than what we actually encounter, the experience feels more negative. And if we expect something less than what we encounter, it feels more positive. And this is a very common observation. It has given rise to many familiar proverbs. Expect the best, prepare for the worst. Blessed is he who expects nothing, for he shall never be disappointed. Don't count your chickens before they hatch. Expectations are resentments waiting to happen. That one is often attributed to writer Annie Lamott. Disappointment is the gap between expectation and reality. Keep your expectations low and you'll never be let down. Happiness equals reality minus expectations. I was thinking about this truth in the context of the empty nest stage of life. I've noticed that the empty nest, or as I'm calling it, the open door, is a transition when many people grapple with expectations. For instance, parents show a wide range in their expectations of the frequency of connection with their child, and whether they feel good or bad about that frequency depends on their expectations. Often, parents and children don't discuss these expectations explicitly. They don't talk about what they expect, and then they're disappointed, resentful, or annoyed by a parent or child's communication style. For instance, many parents expect that they'll communicate with their children in college just as much as they communicated with that child at home. Or because they see that a child texts all day long with their friends, they expect to share the same constant stream of contact themselves. And children, on the other hand, may expect a much lower level of communication. It's a very common source of tension. But at the core of this issue is a clash of expectations. It's not so much about what people are actually doing, but what is expected. One mother told me, "My son texts me all the time. I hear from him every few days." Another mother said, "I almost never hear from my son. In a week, I only get 2 or 3 texts or calls." The behavior is the same. It's the expectations and the framing that are different. I learned about a striking example of this issue of expectations with the phenomenon of Paris syndrome. This syndrome is the sense of extreme disappointment exhibited by some individuals when visiting Paris, who feel that the city does not live up to their expectations. It's a severe form of culture shock. It's typically discussed in the context of tourists from Japan. So why might some tourists from Japan feel this profound letdown when they visit Paris for the first time? One reason is that many Japanese people have an idealized vision of Paris. In Japanese culture, the city is often portrayed as an idyllic place of splendor, romance, and luxury. And of course, Paris is an extraordinary city, rich in art, history, and beauty, but it's also an ordinary city. It has its grit and grime, especially compared to the cities of Japan. It has inhabitants who may act rude or grumpy. It has bad weather. One expert commented that Paris syndrome isn't really specific to Paris, but occurs when we feel disappointment or even despair, when reality doesn't live up to our romantic expectations. Maybe we're disappointed because we thought Paris would be more immaculately beautiful. Or maybe we're disappointed because we thought we'd text back and forth all day long with our college freshmen. The more we expect, the more disappointed we may be, in Paris or anywhere. I'm Gretchen Rubin, and I hope this makes your week a little happier. From the Onward Project.
Hi, Gretchen, Craig Robinson, and my little sister Michelle here. We host a new podcast called IMO with Michelle Obama and Craig Robinson. We know you're the queen of giving advice, so we wanted to get a few tips from you.
You know, Gretchen, a lot of our listeners are going through some major life changes. What advice do you have for folks who are trying to stay grounded in the midst of major life transitions?
Craig and Michelle, I am so happy to be talking to you. Here are a few questions that might help us gain perspective. So consider questions like this. What activities take up my time but are not particularly useful or stimulating for me? Do I spend a lot of time on something that's important to someone else, but is not very important to me? If I could magically change one habit in my life, what would I choose? And here's a question. Would I like to have more time in solitude, restorative solitude, or would I like to have more time with friends? You know, just thinking about questions like this can help us start to figure out how we might make our lives happier. With greater self-knowledge, we're better able to make hard decisions that reflect ourselves, our own nature, our own interests, our own values. In my own case, I have found that the more my life reflects my nature, the happier I get, and the more grounded I feel when I'm going through a period of major change or transition. For more great advice, search for IMO with Michelle Obama and Craig Robinson wherever you get podcasts. You can listen to Issa Rae on letting go of certain friendships, Kiki Palmer on why disappointment is actually the key to career success, Seth and Lauren Rogan on caring for aging parents, and so many more.